Now, Joe, you recently tweeted that you hoped Eric Bieniemy gets a shot at a head coaching job. I know a bigger question being had right now is the representation of black head coaches in the league. Why do you think that's still a problem that people keep having to bring up and talk about?
I don't know. It's a little bit, Mackenzie, it's a little bit like the situation that we have in society today. We need so many things fixed, and we can't wait. For years, there hasn't been a call to action. There's been a lot of conversation.
Yeah.
There's a lot of wishing. There's a lot of hoping. But now we really need to move forward. Certainly the coaches that got hired are extremely qualified coaches, as I believe Eric is. Maybe it's not this year, but for sure, I got to believe it's going to have to be sometime in the next year, because we fire 6, 7, 8 coaches a year.
Yeah.
So that attrition rate goes on. But it's one of the elements that I really don't have a specific answer for when it comes to why he wasn't given the opportunity. I've heard different things about interviews and things like that. Man, this man knows football.
Yeah.
Okay. He's been around winning. He understands winning. He knows football. That to me speaks very highly of who he is, and a tremendous individual, a great person. And I believe that opportunity will come. But like I said, this wheel's not turning fast enough for a lot of us.
And a big thing that happened this season was your team, the Washington football team, cutting Dwayne Haskins, an extraordinary move by Ron Rivera. What was your reaction to when all that went down?
Well, some of the things that Dwayne talked about, some of the things in a tweet when he was released by the football team, where he really felt like, he didn't apply himself the way he should have. This has been a great lesson for him. And now he's in Pittsburgh, and I'm sure he's going to be a different quarterback in Pittsburgh. He always seemed like he was sort of geared up. I mean, everything was moving so fast. His feet were moving fast. The ball was coming out fast, whether you were 5 yards or 50 yards away. Those were the things that he never really had a chance to learn. So part of what we saw from Dwayne in this particular year, I think, was a result of not having a chance to have OTAs, to have a mini camp, to have a full training camp, to be able to understand and learn the system. But like I said, I was proud of what I read at the end when he said, "Hey, look, I've got to mature. I've got to be better. I've got to do things the right way that I should be doing." And he recognized what needs to be done, and that I'm thrilled for him. But I think it just reached a point where it boils down to production.
Yeah.
If you can produce, and at the quarterback position, we're associated with wins. If you can produce wins, then you keep your job. Yeah. If you can't produce wins, they're going to look for somebody to replace you. And in Dwayne's case, we had 3 guys after him come in and play. And Alex got healthier, so it gave Ron a little bit more flexibility at the position as well.
What do you think the Washington football team should look for in a future quarterback?
There's so many different varieties coming out. I think you need somebody with mobility. You need somebody who understands the game of football. And the game isn't just a physical game. We watch it and we see the physical skills, but how do you manage a football game? How do you manage down and distance? How do you manage timeouts? How do you manage weather? How do you manage field position? Do you understand the offense? Are you and the offensive coordinator on the same page? There's so many different elements that go into it. I think we need somebody to be able to stay healthy enough to grow and learn at the position. I believe since I got hurt in '85, Mackenzie, there have been 39 different starting quarterbacks in Washington.
Jeez.
And now then you look at a place like San Francisco, where you had Joe Montana and Steve Young forever. Yeah. Green Bay, where you've had Aaron and Brett forever. New Orleans, where you've had Drew forever. Tom Brady now continuing. And Tom, by the way, I believe will play until he's 45. And I mean, really,
one can only hope.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's exciting, and to have him in the Super with Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. There's total opposites when it comes to experience. Patrick's got 1 Super Bowl. Tom's going for his 7th. He's played in 10 Super Bowls. There's only been 54 of them to date. It's 18% of the Super Bowls that have been played.
Yeah,
the man's played it. It's phenomenal. It really is. It's exciting for football, and let me tell you something. You won't find a nicer person than Tom Brady. Real quick, a little bit about Tom Brady. After they won the NFC Championship, and he was standing by the microphone, they wanted to ask him a lot of questions.
Yeah.
he got off that microphone and said, hey, look, instead of asking me these questions, we've got some great guys here that I'm sure can answer them. He deferred to his teammates. I mean, he understands it. That's the big thing about him.
Yeah.
He's special.
Joe, it's now been a full season since the Washington football team did a rebrand. Are you a fan of the name change, and do you think that they should just stick with it? I personally think it stuck, but I want to know what you think.
Well, the name change, they've been trying to change this name for years, and it finally happened this year. I don't believe it will be the Washington football team. I'd like to see another name that we can have. I'd like to see a logo that we can have. But I really like the way the organization has approached this. What they did was they didn't move in haste just to find a name, to find a logo. It'll probably be 2022 before we actually have a new name for this football team. But keep in mind, it's a slow process. For example, the Los Angeles Rams, they changed their logo. That took 2 years, just changing the logo. So this isn't a light switch operation where all of a sudden, let's go with the new name, boom, here it is. No, I think there's a lot of great thought going into it. There's a lot of time being spent on it, and it's the right way to go about doing it.
Yeah. What do you think the name should capture? You, of all people, should, be able to speak to that.
I think I would like to see if it possibly could capture maybe something about the city.
Yeah.
Something about the Washington, D.C., where the games are played, where the stadium is located, where you may be in Maryland, you may be in Virginia, you may be in D.C. I don't know where the stadium's going to be. But to capture the essence of this part of the country, or maybe even possibly keep it in the Native American community. Is there a name that everybody can agree on? Not that everybody will, but hopefully most people will agree and say this is an identity that we're proud of and that we can go forward with. Those would be two areas I think that might make sense. But you just don't know where it's going to come from. And they're talking to fans, they're talking to alumni, they're doing a lot of research, all the studies. So there's a lot of time being spent. It's not something that's going to be a snap judgment.
Yeah. This team, no one expected them to get to the playoffs. Obviously, they did. But the resiliency of both Alex Smith and Ron Rivera, without a doubt, inspired the guys on the team. And we haven't seen this resiliency in this Washington team in a long time. Has the organization finally found their leader they've been in need of for so long?
I think they have found a great leader in Ron Rivera. The man. You start with the man. You start with the man, Alex Smith. And then you move on to the other elements, the coaching ability, the decisions he's made, the willingness to admit his error. I mean, Ron came out about 5-6 weeks ago and said, look, I made a mistake in the beginning of the year by just giving Dwayne the job. I didn't open it to competition. He admitted that. Not too many people would do that. And look at, if Alex isn't the comeback player of the year, then there should never be one in the National Football League again. What he's been able to do, I'm so thrilled for him, having sustained the same type of an injury. But I didn't go through the aftermath, what he went through, darn near losing his leg and his life and all the operations. It's great to see him. I've said this before, Mackenzie. His wife, Elizabeth, is his biggest fan. Oh. I'm number two. I'm number two.
Number two.
I'm glad to be number two for the guy. I'm thrilled for him.
Do you think the culture has changed in Washington? I want to know what your opinion is on this shift.
I think our football team is moving in the right direction as far as what we want to be and what we want to represent as far as a football team goes, who we want to be as a football team. And I do believe it's moving in the right direction. You look at the decisions that have been made, the way the organization is being built with the hiring of general managers, the hiring of presidents of football operations. All of the positions, quote unquote, are filled at this point with people that have familiarity with winning. They have familiarity with the culture of who we are. And I do believe that we're moving very, very much in a very positive direction.
All right. In the spirit of this year's Super Bowl, I want to ask you a few rapid fire questions about Tom Brady. I think you'll enjoy these. So I want to know, what do you remember from Tom Brady's first Super Bowl win in 2002?
The look on his face when they won. They're like, holy mackerel. I was a part of it. We did it. And because I felt the same way. I know when I won my first one, it's like, it's just focus on the face. It tells you everything. It was the look on his face when it was over. And then the joy that he exuded, I guess. Was the word.
Who do you think is going to end up going down in history as having the better career, Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady?
See that Patrick's so young. I mean, he's so young into his. We'll have to answer that question 15 years from now if Patrick is still playing. Yeah. After all, Tom's at his 21st. You know, it's 3 versus 21. I'd have to say right now, I'd have to give it to Tom Brady only because he's done it.
Yeah.
Patrick has a lot more to accomplish, and I think he will.
In 15 years, I will hit you up, Joe, and we will.
Call me.
I'll ask
Find
you.
me. Call me. Absolutely.